Hello Techies, welcome back to our channel UiPath by Sujitha. In this video, we are going to learn about throw and rethrow activities in UiPath Studio. Throw activity. Throw activity, we use to throw an exception even though if it is not created or generated by the activities in your flow. We already learned that runtime exceptions which are generated by the activities can be handled using try catch activity, right? All the generated exceptions from try block can be handled using catch block. Now, when there is a need to throw an exception, even though if it is not generated by the activities, even though if it is not generated by the activities in the sense, the exceptions which are created by our own according to the business logic. So for example, when I'm submitting a form, say insurance form, where I'm filling all my details, but the insurance form, but the insurance has some business logic to accommodate only at the age of 45 to 60. When I give my age as 44, it has to throw an exception saying you are ineligible. You are not eligible for this particular insurance. So in such scenarios, to accommodate these kind of business rules in our automated process, this cannot be done by any other activities, right? This is not a runtime exception. Rather, this is going to be our business rule. This is going to be our own created exception. So we can use throw activity to accommodate such a need. Okay, so I hope you got the clarity on throw activity. So let us make a note of what this throw activity is. To throw an exception, we use throw activity to throw an exception even if it is not generated by any activity. Say for example, business rule exception. Most oftenly used type is business rule exception in throw activity. It's not stick to only this particular type, but rather we can create all kind of exceptions using throw activity. The most generic one. Okay, I can say this captain. Excuse me. Yes. And remember, whatever type you created, whatever type you create using throw activity, that means if you create a business rule exception, you are supposed to use the same exception type in catch block also when you are catching this particular exception. I'll demonstrate this using one example what we discussed so far. For that, please quickly open your studio, do this activities along with me so that it will be easy to understand. I have created a sequence, separate sequence, say throw versus a rethrow demo, where I have just renamed the activity, and I'm going to add one annotation here. This is to demonstrate okay. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take input from the user. Okay, now let me quickly use input dialogues. Let us not go in deep on this insurance filling. I'm just considering only the business logic. Say for example, the age what we discussed so far. Okay, let it be the same. Going to use Control K and age. Okay, quickly change this to integer. Fine. Now I'm going to have one if condition to validate whether the age meets the criteria or not. And age should be greater than 45 and should be less than or equals to 60. Fine. This is the criteria. Now, if this meets, then what to do? It is supposed to fill the insurance. You are eligible, right? Filling insurance form as you are eligible. Okay. Now, else if it is out of this, what I am going to do, I am going to drop a one more message. I'll give a okay, log messages enough. Info, you are not eligible for this insurance. Okay, so this is the criteria. Now let us see, let us run this. So I am going to give some 44. What it says? It says you are not eligible for this insurance. Rather, I am supposed to use throw activity to throw this message. What I am doing, let me open this. Yeah. New business rule exception. Give the same. You are not eligible for this insurance. Okay, fine. So I just removed the log message and I have used throw activity, right? This is how we are supposed to create an exception using throw. In this exception, we just creating a new exception that is a business rule type, right? Business rule exception type. So other than this, we can use any other exception types as well. Okay, let us save this. Now I am running the same. Let me give some, say 40. See, it has thrown a runtime execution error because we created this, right? It has not generated by my flow. Rather, I created according to the business logic. Fine. It has not generated by any of these activities in the flow. Rather, we ourselves created it using this throw activity. Now, when this particular pop-up came, right, saying you are not eligible for this insurance, the business rule exception, let me show you again. 74. You could see the source it has shown and also the message which we have given here using business rule exception, and the exception type as UiPath core dot business rule exception. Now we are supposed to check one more thing here, that is, let me add two more, say for example, let me add some log message after this saying the process is completed. Okay, I'm just going to disable this activity, where for our understanding I'm using a log message here and I'm saying the same inside else block you are not eligible. Okay, let us see how it behaves. I'm using all these scenarios just for making sure that you understand the concept very well. Okay, so even though it is time consuming, better to understand the concept so that it will be helpful for you in your real time execution. So I just gave 44. Now see, it has not given that exception, a pop-up kind. Instead, it has thrown a log message here saying inside else block you are not eligible. Also, it has come out of this if block and executed this log message. Fine. Now, what I am going to do, I am going to enable this throw activity. Let's enable, yeah. Save it. Now execute it again. I hope you're doing this along with me, right? Okay. So I'm going to give some 40. See, it has thrown this exception as expected because we use throw activity. Now it got terminated. Terminated in the sense, if you see in the output panel, the message what we have kept here, the log messages after throw activity. There is one log message inside the else block and one more log message outside the if else block. These two will not executed, right? So that means when we are using throw activity, not only throwing the exception, not only creating the exception, rather it is terminating the flow. Fine? Understood? So let me give this. It is not only used to throw an exception, rather it helps, it terminates the execution. Fine? Got it right? So this is what we have understood here. It is not executing the next activities, rather it is simply throwing the exception and terminating, coming out of this complete execution. Let me start a debug so that you can understand this. Let me add a breakpoint at throw and I'm going to debug this file. So first of all, it is asking me the age. I have given 44. So it came into else block because 44 is not meeting the criterion. Now when I say step into, it is throwing an exception, and if you see, it is this red one. If you see, it is coming out of this if else, right? It is not executing this log message next activity, rather it came out, right? It is not even executed this log message. It has terminating the flow. Fine, it has terminating, right? And showing this exceptional message box. Now we can use what I'm doing. I'm surrounding this if activity in a try catch block. There are two ways to do this try catch, right? One from activities panel, we can simply drag and drop here, or we can select an activity and go for this surround with try catch, right? Anything is fine, right? Now my activity is inside the try block. Okay, now whatever exceptions which can be happened in try block can be caught using catch block, right? Now I'm going to create a exception, I mean business rule exception to catch this exception whatever we have thrown here. For that, go to browse for types, type business rule exception and select it. Okay, fine. Now what I'm going to do in this, use a log message morning. I'm going to use exception dot message. Okay, let me give this. Now let us see how it is going to behave. Okay, fine. Let us start debugging. Let me give some 41. Yes, it came here to throw activity. Excuse me. So it has not executed this log message, right? See, it came out of that else block and rather it reaches the catch block. Fine. So whatever exception we throw been caught using the catch block, and it is printing the message here what we added. That means whatever activities we add to catch, I mean to handle this exception, all those activities will be executed when it is when it reaches this catch block. Fine. So let us do this. And also if you observe, after catching this, it has executed this log message after this. That means it is not terminating the exception, rather it been caught using try catch. Fine. Understood? So now let us concentrate on the rethrow activity. I hope you got clear understanding on this throw concept, right? So throw we are using to throw an exception even if it is not generated by any of the activities. So it will terminate the execution when throw is met. We can catch the exception using try catch. Okay, in order to continue further. Because of that reason only our other log message been executed. This process completed, been printed here, right? That's how. Now let us come to rethrow. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use a rethrow activity here inside this catch. Simple. Remember this, a rethrow activity should always be placed in the catch block. What it will do, it throws an exception previously caught in an exception handling block. That means this is one exception handling block, right? So when I surround this try catch with one more try catch, this is going to be my parent try catch and this is going to be a child. Fine. That's what it said, right? Rethrow. Throws an exception previously caught in an exception handling block. Whatever exception which is caught here can be rethrown to the parent try catch. Fine. Now let us see how it behaves. That is the reason the condition is to keep this rethrow, to use this rethrow always inside the catch block. What happens if we use the rethrow outside the catch? It is throwing a error. See, rethrow must be the child of a catch handler of a try catch activity. So it should be always placed or used using catch handler, right? So that is the reason. Because the purpose of rethrow is to rethrow the caught exception. If there is no catching mechanism, how to rethrow it? There's no meaning, right? It's meaningless. So there should be a catching mechanism where we can rethrow the caught exception to the next parent. Okay. So now let us see how it behaves. Before that, let us go to parent try catch. I'm minimizing this for your better understanding. Here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to catch the exception. Generic. Okay. Now, I'm going to perform something else here. What I'm going to perform, I'm going to perform one more input dialog where, one more input dialog, and I'm asking for age. Please give the age between 45 and 60. Okay. In age. Okay. So now after this I'm giving a log message saying thank you. Thank you. We will let you know the further process. Okay. So this is what I'm going to, and I'll give this this message in a message box. Okay. Message box. Where is message box? Yes. Fine. Let me save this. Let us run this and understand the rethrow concept. Let me do it in debug mode so that it will be easy to understand how it is traversing. Okay. So first of all, it is asking me to give the age. Let me give something, say 43. Always I'm giving out of this 45 and 60 for making it fail. Okay. Now it has went to else block because it has not met the criteria. Okay. Now the exception been thrown, whereas it came out of the else block and if block. Exception been caught, that is the reason it came to catch block and been printing that the sequence you are not eligible for this insurance, and it came to rethrow. Fine. What happened? Rethrow been executed, whereas it went to just see, after rethrow it came to try catch, and then it went to parent try catch, right, in the catch block where I have added an input dialog, right? Now it is going to ask me, please give the age between 45 and 60. When I say 44, when I say some 50, because it has directed, it has instructed me properly, right? Now I am giving the correct age. Okay, now see, the next activity is executing. Thank you. We'll let you know the further process. Okay, so this is how rethrow being used in order to rethrow the caught exception to the next handler. Okay, fine. So I hope you got a clear understanding on the throw and rethrow concept. A rethrow is used to rethrow the caught exception to where? To the next level. That means to the next handler. That means rethrow the initially caught exception, and the main point what should we keep in mind is it should be used in catch block only. Okay, so this is what is a high level on throw and rethrow activities. I hope this helps you while you automate your process. Thank you so much for your support so far. Meet you through our next videos. Bye bye.